31 of 24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a
It's
dude.
better than this. Guys being dudes.
Matt Ryan,
That's a dude.
Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award. Ultimate
Raji
dudes.
on my left, Herzlich on my right. 2 dudes. O-line you. Bunch of dudes. Dudes to the right. Dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and good evening. It's Two Dudes Sports Show here, TJ Hardet alongside Quinn Kelly. Quinn, how you doing on this beautiful Thursday evening?
Doing pretty well despite some questionable weather.
Yeah, if you're not from the area, the weather, not the best. Not the best throughout the Chestnut Hill, Newton area. Pouring throughout the entirety of the last 2 days. Lightning and thunder last night. It's not looking too good. It's not looking too good in the area.
No, not at all.
But we're here. The weather doesn't stop us. We're in here in the WZBC studios, 90.3 Newton AM station. And we're here to talk about some Boston College football we got going on first. The game against Clemson, the really, really, really tough game against Clemson that we really don't want to talk about. But if you saw our tailgate video, I'm sure you want to talk about it because that was pretty sweet.
Absolutely.
And then we're also going to talk about BC's next contest against Wake Forest. We got some call-in topics tonight. The call-in topics we'll get to a little bit later, unless you want to say them now. You want to say them now?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll say them now. You can go.
So for call-ins tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about who we think is going to win the BCS National Championship this year. First year with the 4-team college playoff system. And then after that, we'll do a little bit of talking, a little bit of delving into the UNC issue. Obviously, big news coming out of UNC Chapel Hill that there's been a lot of issues with athletes athletes and others taking classes that weren't really classes, sparring the question, should athletes be held to the same academic standards, given that their job there is to bring in dollars for
Revenue,
with the sports
yeah.
Revenue.
Sports profit. So if you want to talk about that, call in at our number. You can find it on the website that you're at right now. If that doesn't work, it's really tough. Sometimes the phone doesn't work. I doubt it's working tonight. Call us on our personal phones if you know our number. If you're our friends, you can call in anytime. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about too. We're excited to have you on the show. If you want to talk, we're looking forward to it. We also got postseason baseball to talk about, and wrapping up with some NFL predictions as well as how we did last week. I don't know the exact number again, but another 50-50 for me, I'll tell you that much. So we'll dive right into Boston College football. So those of you who don't know, Boston College suffered a heart-wrenching defeat against the Clemson Tigers last Saturday. Homecoming game, 3:30 start, everything going for BC, and just a really, really series of unfortunate events that led to a loss and a real game that BC could have won.
Definitely. When you look at the game, there are probably 4 plays that you could single out as game changers.
Yep.
So BC first possession, wide open man down the middle.
Yep.
Tyler Murphy throws it right on the money, and just a drop pass out of nowhere. Nowhere near the tight end. He's on a streak down the middle of the field, wide open field ahead of him. Nothing. Then we have the missed extra point on the second touchdown. If you give us that, we were in field goal range, and that last possession, it puts the game into OT, maybe, hopefully.
A good chance at a close field goal.
Definitely, with a lot of the momentum.
Kicking's been a very interesting topic throughout the entire year, and you can't place a singular blame on one kicker or one particular instant, but it's something that definitely would have helped, and it's definitely something we single out. So yeah,
absolutely.
Continue.
And then just the final possession inside the red zone, looking to move on in for the score. 2 touchdown passes dropped. The second one, I'll give it to you. It's a questionable.
It was definitely there though, because I saw it. It was the 4th down one that we're talking about. The 4th down pass over the middle, and I really thought he was going to catch it. I really thought it was around the 1-yard line, right in the end zone line, and it just, I don't know if he pulled up or the Clemson defender dove in front of him. Whatever it was, really cost that opportunity. It really was a bummer. Because I really thought at that exact moment, 4th down, I was like, we're going to win the game. We're going to win the game. And then out of nowhere, just collided with the Clemson defender.
And that's the thing that really separates the big programs from the smaller programs.
It's true.
At the end of the day, to be an elite college wide receiver and to go on to the next level, if it hits your hands, it has to stay in your hands.
True.
You can't drop something that's on the money.
No.
Tyler Murphy had one of his better games passing.
Yeah.
I was
surprised
was on the money.
by how well when Clemson gave him the opportunity. Clemson's a very, very good defense from what I've seen in the rankings and everything with that. Clemson allowed either Tyler Murphy to throw all over them, or did our mics go out? No?
I'm hearing me.
Oh,
Are
we're
you
good.
hearing yourself?
Am I on? Am I not on? I may not be on. I may be. Whatever it was. We'll continue. It doesn't really matter. Tyler Murphy was... I don't know why that's not working. Whatever. Tyler Murphy was throwing... the game of his life. He was throwing fantastic over the middle. He was throwing huge opportunity passes that either were dropped at certain circumstances or at other times set up for other plays that really pushed BC to score, and it just didn't happen. I don't know what's going on with the mics, but yours is working.
All right, we're going to put this in the mic.
Okay. We'll do that. Yeah.
We're just having a bit of technical difficulty in the studio here.
Am I back? I may be. I'm not. No. Okay.
All right, we're just going to try one thing.
Hello.
There you go.
I'm back. Am I back?
Right, perfect.
I'm back. Maybe turn that down a little bit. Maybe I have to hold it. Okay.
We're going to get right back into it. So, as we were saying, yeah.
Nice.
Just...
Sorry.
Tyler Murphy was right on there, right on point with a lot of his throws. And... you especially like the second one's not as bad. The fourth down one, yeah, it's in your hands, but that's a tough catch. That's a tough catch for anybody to make. First one was wide open, going into the end zone.
Yep,
you gotta bring that.
Oh, the one it was
like a little bit over the shoulder.
It was a running back. It was over the shoulder. I was already celebrating. I was halfway in the air. When it happened, I was jumping for joy, hands out, both sides, and I just turned around. And I just stared at the back wall. I could not believe it.
No.
I could not believe that pass was... I mean, you can't pinpoint one play. You can't put the blame on one person. You can't do that at all. Because it's a whole team effort.
Absolutely.
There were so many plays that could have gone BC's way, and it just did not work. And it stinks, because it could have been such a big win over a top 24 team. For a team that's looking to make a bowl right now, for a team that's going into Wake Forest, which should be a win, and to have that Clemson win under your belt would have been huge for the Boston College program. Huge.
Absolutely. I
mean,
they
had it.
They did have it. And that's the thing. You get that win. It's a marquee kind of win. We have the USC win in our back pocket, and then you get the Clemson one. And even if you end up at 6-6, you're from a power conference. You have two really good wins on your docket. You're pretty much guaranteed a bowl.
We're not expecting to make the ACC championship here. We're just trying to make a bowl.
We're just looking for a bowl,
and that's why that game would have been so important, because you do have a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah, we do. You got Wake Forest, but then after that, it's not getting
Virginia Tech, good team. Louisville, good team. Florida State, really good team. Syracuse, and I may be missing one in between.
Michigan State, I believe.
Michigan State.
Accurate? Maybe
I don't think so. I hope not. No, definitely not.
All right.
Whatever the last team is, I think maybe that's it. I don't know. There's either one more team or not. We're looking that up now, but it's definitely an away game. I know that much.
Yeah.
What is it? No, that's it. Okay,
all right, that's it.
So we got Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Louisville, Florida State, Syracuse. 2 more home games. Louisville and Syracuse. Not one team on that schedule is a guaranteed win. That's the problem.
No, definitely not. Louisville right ahead of us in the standings in the ACC, sitting at 3rd. They're a pretty good team themselves. 5-2, I believe. 4-2 in the ACC.
It's high, whatever it is, and I mean we're still a winning record team. We're 4-3. It's just that our losses come against
ACC opponents.
And subpar opponents. At points. I mean, Pittsburgh. It's ACC. The problem with ACC sometimes it's not consistent. It's not a consistent division.
No,
the only team that's consistent right now is Florida State. They're the ones that have really proven that they can win every single game that they've been put up against. That Notre Dame game was a different story because it could have gone either way depending on how you viewed that last call. But consistency coming up and getting those wins when they need to get wins is huge, and we haven't seen that from other ACC teams. You look at Pittsburgh, lost to Akron.
Yeah.
Louisville has 2 losses too. Clemson has 2 losses. There's no consistent teams in the ACC. It's not an SEC division where you're going to find those teams that play week after week the same type of football. I mean, Clemson, number 24 in the nation, almost dropped to BC. Not that BC's a bad team.
No.
But BC also lost to Colorado State, but BC beat USC. It fluctuates week after week, and that's why you say Wake Forest is a win, but you just never know.
No, I guess you don't. I like to think it's a win. Maybe not though.
Oh, I'd love to think it's a win. We need it. You
Absolutely.
need that win against Wake Forest, and I personally think we're going to get it. We have a lot looking forward to this week. I think they're going to take a lot of that Clemson win. I mean, Clemson's a good team. Clemson is a good team, and we could have beat them, and now I think we take that anger out at Wake Forest. Wake Forest, you said, beat Army.
They beat Army and Gardner-Webb, an FCS team. So they don't really have too many, they don't have any good
They don't
wins.
have any quality wins yet.
No.
And they haven't been, I don't think they've even been close in any other real tough-knit game.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how we come out and play against them. I think Murphy's going to run the ball fantastically. I think players, especially kickers and running backs and wide receivers, going to be out with a vengeance, because I think the defense played very well against Clemson.
Yeah, they did.
Holding a top 25 team to 17 points, a team that beat up on NC State 41-0, who dropped points on Florida State and so many other teams along the way. It's good to see our defense acting like that. I know Clemson had a lot of yards and beat us in the yard percentage, but I think we came out and we played a good game defensively, and I think they can take a lot, and I think they will stop Wake Forest at all costs. I don't think Wake Forest will.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think Wake Forest really presents any challenge for BC, in that they have 257 rushing yards this season as a whole unit. They're one of the worst in the nation in rush per game, and their passing is a very dink and dunk kind of passing game. Very
which we have had problems with. But then again, if you can't run the ball,
and you become very
you can't run the ball against Gardner-Webb. You can't run the ball against BC, and they're not going to.
Right, exactly.
So we're going to be up on the line, blitzing is my guess. Not playing a prevent defense, because it's not going to happen. They're not going to be throwing bombs. So I think our defense will handle that game fantastically. The question is, can Murphy keep up his running, or even mix in some throws like he has? And if he throws like he did against Clemson, possibly, and we make plays for him, or he makes plays for us too, it's a two-way street. It's going to benefit us in the long run, which is big, because we need that Clemson win. So we get about 2 minutes left on this topic. You want to throw up predictions?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go with BC in this. I really don't see them having too much difficulty getting over Wake Forest. Wake Forest hasn't gotten a win yet in ACC play.
Sure.
They're at the bottom of the Atlantic Division. I'm going to go BC here. Like you said, I think they're going to come out and try to beat up on them.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 35-7 scoreline.
A 35-7, okay. I agree. I think BC is going to come out. I think they're going to be with a vengeance. I think it's going to be the same thing that happened against NC State. I think coming off a tough loss against Colorado State, something that really sits with you, and then they had that bye week, and they came out and they crushed NC State in all categories in a tough game with weather delays and all these things that could have went against them. They came out and they beat NC State, a team that's not very good, has given up a lot of points, and they really showed up, which is fantastic for Boston College. I think they're going to do the same this week. I think they're going to score a lot of points like they did against NC State. I'm going to say 31-17. Boston College gets the win. I think they give up the same amount of points. Some defense lapses maybe here and there, and I think we go with 4 touchdowns and a field goal. I think the field goal unit gets their chance to come back. They're gonna have a little redemption going on, and I see a lot of progress this week for a game that needs to be won. Absolutely. We lose this week, it's over, really.
Oh, yeah,
it's
unquestionably.
Especially with the teams we got coming up. So there you go. There's our predictions. There's our rundown. There's our preview. We're gonna hit you with the Two Dudes Sports Show intro. Coming up after the break, we have some call-in topics going in. So if you want to call in, we'd love to hear you. Here's our intro. Enjoy.
Matt Ryan, 21-24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a
It's
dude.
better than this. Guys being dudes. Matt Ryan, that's a dude. Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award. Ultimate dude. Raji on my left, Herzlich on my right. 2 dudes. O-line U. bunch of dudes. Dudes to the right, dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.
All right, and we're back here. We're going to talk about our call-in topics for the night. So if you guys want to call in, definitely make it a habit to do so. We're going to talk about, we got first, who do you think is going to win the college football BCS championship? Do they still call it that?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
The 4-game playoff, whatever you want to call it. Who's going to win the championship? We're going to have our opinions on that, too. We'll be talking throughout. And then we're also going to talk about the recent UNC allegations and what that means for college football. And we're going to see what you guys think, too.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to start off here, like you said, talking about who we think is going to win the national championship. So a lot of predictions have come out from analysts. It's getting to that time of year where they're going through which 4 teams they think are going to make it, who are their first 2 out. A lot of different opinions around ESPN. Mississippi State seems to be in across the board.
Oh, yeah.
Ole Miss is
With
in.
the way they're playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Ole Miss is in a lot of them. Alabama seems to be in the first 2 out in everybody's prediction, though. For whatever reason, people are just thinking that it's not going to get in there. They don't want to take too many SEC teams.
Sure.
Florida State has been in there. Oregon's in a split number of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen TCU in one, actually. Wow. I think that's a
one-loss team coming in. Yeah, that's definitely possible.
But
do you have an opinion on your top 4? What do you think right now? Because top 4 right now, we have Mississippi State retain the number 1 spot, even after Florida State's huge win over Notre Dame. Number 2 sits Florida State. Number 3, Ole Miss, and number 4 is Alabama. Alabama, and then number 5 is it?
Number 6 is Oregon.
Number 6 is Oregon. Yeah, we'll look it up right here. Regardless, top 4 teams that we're talking about now. Baylor went down. That's another number that was undefeated that went down. We said last week that 2 undefeateds were going to go down. It's exactly what happened. One was destined, obviously, Notre Dame, Florida State. The other, not surprised, it was Baylor. Baylor, one of those run-and-gun teams that, their offense can put up, but sometimes their defense can't stick it to you at times, and that's why they ran into problems. And I'm not really too surprised that West Virginia came out and socked it to them. So, number 4 in Alabama. Auburn's the one we were missing.
Auburn is number 5.
So, everybody, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep going. I don't know how to work your computer. Let's see. 9, 10, 11, 12. Everybody's a one-loss team. I'm going to go down all the way.
17 and then 20 down.
And then some of them,
23.
like East Carolina, is not going to be in contention just because of their division and certain teams like that. But, if you want to talk about powerhouse one-loss teams, Alabama leading the ranks right now at 4. Auburn sitting at 5 with 1 loss. Oregon sitting at 6, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Georgia, TCU, Kansas State, Baylor, Ohio State, Arizona, Nebraska, Oklahoma, East Carolina, Utah, and then we hit USC, and then Clemson. So that's a powerhouse playoff you got coming up.
It is, and there's a lot to be shaken out. So I think that, at least for me, when I'm looking at my top 4, you have to go with, there's a lot of big head-to-head matchups.
Sure.
Who's going to win those head-to-head matchups is really going to determine who gets in there. So you've got Mississippi State and Ole Miss in their final week of the season. One of those 2 teams is going to win.
Imagine those 2 teams going undefeated into that game. I can't even. Mississippi's going to explode.
It would. And the thing is, it would be very hard for whoever loses that game unless it was a spectacular game right down to the wire like the Florida State Notre
last
Dame
second game. 4th down conversion type game.
It would be very hard for both of them to make it in.
Sure.
So I'm going to go with Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State's going to come over. They've got Dak Prescott.
Yep.
He is, he's the Heisman candidate right now. He is the Heisman hot runner.
Leading the polls.
And I think that he comes out and he's going to beat Ole Miss. And then you've got Alabama and Auburn at 4-5, and then it's who you believe is going to win that game.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Auburn in that one this year. I think they're going to win it again.
It's definitely possible.
And so I think that with that, I'll put Mississippi State and Auburn in there, and then I'm going to go with Florida State and Oregon.
Okay. That's a solid top 4 right there. It's going to be interesting to see how that final game plays exactly, and if Mississippi State and Ole Miss, because we're considering that they're both undefeated going into that game.
Right.
That's the assumption we're making. Mississippi State has gone through the toughest part of their schedule. I think Ole Miss has too. I know Mississippi State for a fact, and same with Florida State. Florida State has gone through their.
Florida State does not have really any competition left.
If you want to count BC, Yeah. So BC, I mean, you never know. You never know. But
we
judging that we're on the road, actually, are we undefeated on the road? We are undefeated on the road.
Hey, there you go.
So maybe we win at Wake Forest, man. Watch out. It's definitely possible, but yeah. I mean,
not like
Florida State, you're looking pretty sweet. So they're looking good. Mississippi State doesn't have that final real test until Ole Miss.
Right.
And then you have the same thing with the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn. I think ultimately they're going to take 2 SEC teams. They have to. They're going to take 2. I don't think they're going to take more than 2.
No.
Because that's tough to do.
It is.
It's definitely possible.
Because they could have 3
Oh, yeah. I mean,
teams,
well, this is also considering that at the time, Florida State is either undefeated or 1 loss. And same thing with Oregon, obviously 1 loss. So with Oregon, just say nobody goes undefeated this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm gonna put this assumption out there. If nobody goes undefeated, do you think that SEC could sneak in 3 teams if they all stay 1 loss?
No, I don't, because
are there any rules on that? Do we know?
There aren't any. I don't believe. I
think there's unwritten rules.
Yeah, because tie-ins are gone. And
well, it's true. I mean, if the ACC has a terrible year and the number 1 team in the division has 3 losses, they're not going to put them in a college. It's not like they have a guaranteed spot.
Right.
It's not like that.
I'll say this: if nobody remains undefeated, that means Florida State has to suffer a really bad loss.
Yes.
And I think Florida State drops out because of that.
It's definitely.
If in the regular season everybody has 1 loss, that means that somebody has to lose in the SEC championship game. Okay. And that's 2 losses, so they're gone too.
That's true. Oh, I see. I didn't even think about the championship game. You're right.
The only event that you could have, I think, if you could have
it has to be,
3 SEC teams in the event that 1 was undefeated going into the SEC championship game and lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were 2 1-loss SEC teams in the same division.
Sure.
And 1 wasn't able to go to the championship.
Makes sense.
But I still don't see them voting in.
This is tough. SEC, man. SEC steps up to the plate.
Absolutely.
And
they really do. They bring it every week.
Over the past couple of years too, and this has been my personal opinion and what I've heard of, what I've seen. SEC, I felt has been an overrated conference at times. People give them too much credit. This year,
you can't give them enough credit.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable the amount. If you want to count here, number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5, all SEC. Number 9. That's 5 out of the top 10. SEC. Yeah. 1 conference. You want to talk about ACC? You got 1. You want to talk about independent? You got 1. Pac-10? Pac-12, excuse me. Pac-12? 1. Big 12? 1. Big 10? 1. Yeah. So that's a powerhouse conference. And for them to get 3 spots, it's well-deserved.
Absolutely.
It would be well-deserved. The question is, would it happen? And I don't... It's really tough to say.
I don't think voters are going to want it to happen. I think that there's too much in-house competition. I think that they all play each other too much.
Sure.
I don't see somebody coming out of
it's really tough.
Of the SEC championship with only 1 loss.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're probably going to get an undefeated team in there, and they're going to win, and then you're going to have a team with 2 losses who's out of contention.
Sure.
I believe Ole Miss and Mississippi State are the same division in SEC, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, well, yeah. I think they would have... I think they are, yeah.
So say that they both go undefeated until...
that final game.
Until that final game.
And just say it's an amazing game.
Right. Whoever lost in that game has a better chance than whoever loses the SEC championship game to Mississippi State in the event that Mississippi State won.
True.
So there's a lot to play out.
There's a lot of logistics going into it. Ultimately, I think my 4... I think Oregon's going to solidify a spot just because of their high-power offense, Mariota being at the top of the ranks.
They're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like it, but they're a lot of fun to watch. And
I think they're ultimately going to get voted in just because they haven't, I wouldn't say manhandled the conference. They had a really tough loss against Arizona. It was a good team. There's a lot of the Pac teams that are in here, like USC.
Yeah, they're hovering in the 15 to 25 range.
Yeah.
They're all around.
So they're all there. So it's a powerful conference. It's not the SEC. It's not at all.
It's not, no.
But I think Oregon's going to solidify a spot in there. Looking outside, I do think Notre Dame could get in. It's just
It'd be tough.
It'd be very tough. Their game against Florida State easily could have been a win.
It was very surprising to me. I wouldn't have put them sniffing the playoffs before the Florida State game.
I agree.
Very much thought they're still that
I think they were
going to
go down. I thought they were
going
to go down. They did. They ultimately did go down, but
they
also like to consider that like a loss is really tough to say. I'd put like a WL type thing, like a win-loss. Like you played your heart out.
A moral win. There.
Yeah, you deserve. Like they're like I don't think you get that bummed over that loss. I mean, you're upset.
Yeah,
it's one of those heart-wrenching, kill me games. But
at the end of the day, you look. It's only bettered their opinion in analysts' eyes. I mean, we saw Everett Golson shot up in the Heisman rankings after that game. People, they really didn't slide too far down.
No.
For them to lose to Florida State
and then go to 7.
Yeah. What were they at before, 5?
Yep. They were 5, yeah.
So
this Baylor was 4.
Really, really not a terrible loss.
So it's definitely possible for them. My brother would love to hear that. It's definitely possible for them. They have a tough schedule coming up too at times. Yeah. They have one more big opponent. I don't know. Oh well, they play Arizona State. That's 14 right now.
Mm-hmm. They can't lose that game.
They can't. No, they can't lose.
Out.
They can't lose regardless for the rest of the season.
Nobody really can.
No,
unless you're undefeated right now, you have to win out.
And even the undefeateds can't guarantee one loss. And they're like, okay, there's a possibility. Not. You can't. And it's unbelievable. It's great to talk about. That's why it's such a good topic. Ultimately, I do think it's tough to say, but I do think that I want to say Mississippi State and Ole Miss both get in. I really do. And I think that last game's going to be amazing. But I think if I'm going to give the edge to one team, I think it's going to be Ole Miss, personally. I think Ole Miss has a more high rank. They have like the top recruit from the last 3 years.
Yeah, they do.
And there's actually some like questioning going down in Ole Miss that I've heard about of people saying illegal recruiting, stuff like that, which wouldn't surprise me because, I mean, if you think about it, why 3 years ago you'd want to go to Ole Miss? I don't know.
It's true.
I really don't know. It wasn't something that was like, why would the number 1 recruit not go to Alabama or LSU or one of those powerhouse teams?
But then you come out with the explanation like Robert Ndechme, the number 1 recruit from 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. His brother had went there before when he wasn't a high recruit.
Yeah.
So they're
always like top 5 in the recruiting class. So it's finally good to see them. Team. Yeah. And that's why I think
this will not be the end of them by any stretch of the imagination.
And I think they're gonna pull through. That's actually the team I have winning it this year.
Really?
I think they are a fantastic team. I love their quarterback. I just think they can get a lot done. Bo Wallace. I think they can get a lot done, and I think they could step to the plate. That's who I have winning the entire thing. Other than that, I want to say Mississippi State, but other than that, it's either Auburn and Alabama again. It's one of those 3 teams. I'm going to go with Mississippi State for right now.
So you've got Mississippi State,
Ole Miss, and Oregon. And then that last spot, Florida State. I don't think Florida State's going down.
No,
I think they'll take it, be an ACC presence in that Final Four playoff. And ultimately, I don't know, how does it shape up? Do you know exactly with who plays who in that Final Four?
One will play
1-4. Yeah, that's what I assumed. Even that, it's like a 1 play and a 1. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really excited to see that. I don't think anyone's going to have an edge in that Final Four. You look at those teams that I just named. You look at the teams that even are on here that I didn't name.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if Mississippi State and Ole Miss were to both get in, like you were saying, I think that anywhere it shakes out, you've got a really good chance of SEC being 1-4.
Yeah.
And by that nature, it's a good game.
Yes.
And then if Florida is
Florida State, just saying,
Florida and State and
just
Oregon
saying one of those teams,
if they're 2-3, then you have 2 very high-powered offenses with lacking defenses this year.
It's going to be interesting. And also, you want to see SEC going against another division like they have normally in the polls anyway. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shapes up. In the end, it could be... Imagine it was Mississippi State and Ole Miss that both got in 1-4, and they had to play each other again, and it was like an amazing game.
Back-to-back
wins. Yeah, imagine that. That would be interesting.
I would love to see them both
awesome
in the final game.
Yeah, we're at 7:29 now. We'll continue to talk. We'll come back with UNC allegation talks and what we have to say about that. We'll talk about postseason baseball, and then we'll round out with some NFL predictions, got a little NFL predictions and some Thursday night football games. So here's our intro again.
Matt Ryan, 21 of 24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a dude.
Better than this. Guys being dudes. Matt Ryan, that's a dude. Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award. Ultimate dudes. Raji on my left, Herzlich on my right. 2 dudes. O-line U, bunch of dudes. Dudes to the right, dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.
Back on here with Two Dudes Sports Show. We're going to do a quick bridge before we get into the UNC allegations, and we're going to do a little bit of Heisman talk. A lot of news surrounding that this week. So first off, Dak Prescott maintaining his top at the spot at the top, excuse me. Mariota up to number 2. It's pretty much a consensus there, 1-2 from all of the ESPN analysts. Whether they have Mariota first and Prescott second, or vice versa. Prescott has 4 more first place votes than Mariota.
Well deserving too, being an undefeated team.
Yeah.
It doesn't make much sense to put Mariota in front of him.
Right, but nobody else has gotten a single vote for the top spot. So that's where we're at now. Also, big news, we talked about it a little bit last week. Todd Gurley has slid down all the way to number 10. He's clinging to that 1 vote. He's got 1 5th place vote.
It's
that puts
tough.
him all but out of contention.
It's very, very tough with all the hype that was surrounding him and the allegations we talked about last week with your friend from Georgia. It's just tough to see him go down. It's not surprising. It really isn't. I know he'll probably have a lot to say about it, but it's a tough scenario where you have so many deserving contenders right now that you're not going to, I guess, put him ahead of other people, like especially a quarterback with an undefeated team or a quarterback that's running a high-power offense. And you're going to run into a lot of problems with that, which is pretty interesting. So it's not too surprising to see him slide down, but that's the way it's worked with him. Sitting at number 3, Gordon from Wisconsin, Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
He's having a fantastic year. Wisconsin themselves, not really, so I don't think he's going to get that many looks. He'll be one of those. He'll be like the Toby Gerhart of that year. Yeah, he'll come just for the show, and everybody loves him. I wouldn't say like the Andre Williams of last year.
I was just thinking that.
No,
you don't want to say that.
I will not say that. That's not true. I thought Andre was going to secretly win it. I thought he was going to sneak out with a beautiful, beautiful Heisman trophy, but famous Jameis, why not? So sitting at number 4 was Golson, if I'm not mistaken.
Amari Cooper.
Oh, Cooper from Alabama, and then Golson,
and then Winston,
and then Winston,
and then
Golson.
Have Winston. You can't really have Golson.
You can't have Golson ahead of Winston, especially when Winston gets the win. So a solid 6 right there. Winston climbed up the ranks a lot.
Yeah.
This week after his big win.
Still getting piggybacked right up there.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at Winston, like we was talking last week about Gurley, how we were talking about how the Heisman, do they really care about these allegations and stuff? And he put up a good point. He said, well, Winston's still in the contention. And Winston even climbed up the ranks, so it kind of negates everything I say about Gurley, too. So it's hard to understand sometimes. It really is.
Right. At the end of the day, though, Gurley's just... Winston didn't miss time.
Correct. He missed a game.
He missed a game this year, but in his Heisman campaign, he didn't miss a game.
Correct.
He's not going to win it this year.
No, I don't know.
So,
unless Prescott just...
tanked, but like there's too many people ahead of him. Like Melvin Gordon, he could probably.
I don't think Mariota. I don't think Prescott. I don't think either of them are.
I think it's either going to be Prescott or Mariota. I have a hard time seeing it being anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But Winston missing a game, it clearly hindered him. And Todd Gurley, he's missed 2 now. So at the end of the day, like even if his stats are still there, he's missing too many games.
Sure. And ultimately, it's gonna come down to those 2. Ultimately, I don't think Gordon's going to make, because Gordon, he's on a team that's not having a successful year in itself. Wisconsin's not doing anything amazing. Any of the people are really doing anything crazy. You want to read this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Just a little shout out to our friend Pat down in Georgia, providing us with a little inside scoop down in Georgia. Obviously, yesterday they applied for reinstatement for Todd Gurley. Yeah. The scoop right now down there are 2 rumors going around. One, that he either gets reinstated tomorrow in time for the Florida game, or he'll be out until the Auburn game.
Wow.
Interesting.
Insider news right there. Insider news. Sports show. Hitting you with the insider news. Pat, our inside source from Georgia, hitting us with that.
Our SEC specialist.
Yeah. Going to call him the SEC. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what Gurley has to say. There's no way he wins the Heisman now, though.
No.
He's too far down the rankings. It'll be interesting. He's such an electric player. I want to see him come back, obviously.
Yeah, he brings a lot to the game. It's too bad to see him out, but at the end of the day, he has...
So ultimately, it's down to Mariota and Prescott. That's where I think we're going to leave it.
Yeah.
And we'll move right into UNC. So for those of you who don't know, UNC huge allegation scandal that came out yesterday. No, I said 13. Excuse me. 3,100 students. They've been enrolled in classes that they didn't attend. It was this whole thing with counselors saying that students were enrolled in this class and they didn't have to show any participation. All they had to do was turn in a paper at the end. This entire allegation regarding the high athletics program. Actually, I have a friend who's an athlete at UNC. He runs track for my high school. So I haven't talked to him about this, but it'd be interesting to see if he's involved. Just kidding. So it's interesting to see, and it brings up an interesting topic of these schools. I mean, not UNC in particular, actually, because if you're going to think about UNC is a very, very smart school. It's very tough to get into, especially out of state. Yeah. When you're looking at it, being from New Jersey, being from Massachusetts, UNC is not an easy school to get into at all.
No.
UNC doesn't rely on athletics completely. Their basketball team is fantastic.
Right.
But football, no. Any other, I mean, they do raise high in some other sports, but they're not an entire school that relies on academics to really build their foundation of why people want to go there.
Right.
It's a highly academic school too, so it's interesting to see. It brings up the topic of if your school is one of those that brings in its revenue and profits from sporting activities, especially football. We're going to talk about the South, but really anywhere. Is it okay to let these athletes slack off? That's the main topic, and you want to start off with your opinion?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if we have distinct opinions, but we could definitely do our best to talk about it.
A little bit arbitrary, but
exactly.
we'll go for it. Well, like you said, 3,100 students enrolled in these classes where they have one grade that's indiscriminately looked at, paper, and then given an A or a B.
Yep.
1,500 of those were athletes. It's nearly half of them.
Okay, so, yeah.
Of the athletes, 51% of them were football players. So even though, it's not a big football school, that is, that's where most of the kids were from in that class. It seems like it's outstretching. We've got former players saying that the basketball coach Roy Williams knew about it, even though he vehemently denies. He could never say he knew that.
Oh yeah, that would tear down the program. That's death penalty worthy at times.
Yeah.
Especially with the way, I mean, I don't think there's been any like true statements that have come out yet, other than, the regular arbitrary response of what's going on. Yeah, we're looking into it. That typical NCAA or UNC jargon, but
right. So one of the big things is with this is it's come out that it's gone on for nearly 2 decades.
Yep.
And it just seems to be an element of college football.
And they ran into the problem. Didn't they run the problem?
They did.
They ran the problem 10 years ago, and now it's... Was it? Yeah, there was 10... I think there was one even later, if I'm not mistaken. There may have been whatever it was. There's something in the past happened with UNC that I know about.
2 years ago, 2 years ago they lost scholarships, and they had a postseason ban for the football program because tutors were writing research papers.
Sure.
It seems to be a very prevalent thing in college sports, in major college arenas. Not as much in smaller markets, but with major college arenas, it seems like athletes are getting the help they need in the classroom, so they're still eligible to play in the field, to come out on Saturdays, to come out for the basketball games. You don't see it too much outside of that. Typically, it's football and basketball. Those are the major ones.
Well, those are the ones that bring in revenue.
Right,
There's
exactly.
really no other one that
is big enough.
I mean, like you could say hockey, but that's not really big.
No,
I mean, we're talking about the prime time market spots, and that's March Madness, and that's college football.
Right.
And there's really nothing that overpowers that.
Absolutely. So the thing is that's why these kids are coming to the school.
Yep.
You have a whole separate scholarship
dedicated to these people.
Yeah, they're not getting a scholarship because of their academics.
No. I mean, some are.
Absolutely. You can't make that distinction.
Most are there to play the sport and get it done, and get an education. That's their whole point. They want to get there. They want to get the degree, and they also want to play the sport, and then most of them want to go on to the pros if they can.
Right, and that's the thing. For a lot of them, they're as much as you'd like to think that, okay, well, we're staying in school, we're getting our education. The NCAA likes to act like we're giving these kids their education so they can do something if sports doesn't work out. Most of them are in it so that they can someday go pro.
It's true.
What they're bringing to the university is dollars. They're bringing money through ticket sales, through memorabilia sales.
Even though the money's not going to them themselves, it's the university, which is a whole nother topic. But yeah.
So, I mean, at least in my opinion, I don't necessarily have a problem with the fact that they're getting help in the classrooms. At the end of the day, the ones that aren't aren't in college as a little hiatus before they get to go make millions of dollars, they aren't the ones getting help.
Right,
they're in the classroom. They're trying to learn.
It's the people that are performing.
Right.
I don't think in this scenario it's the people that are like the third string. I mean, it probably is. And that's where you have a problem.
Right.
I mean, you're here to play football, but then if you never sniff the field, you don't. I mean, and you can't say this is the problem. You can't say, oh, this doesn't apply to you. Oh, now you're singling out athletes and stuff like that. But it's kind of true, and it's a scenario where, if you think about an athlete life, and I could never do it. I can never do it. I have friends who are athletes in college. Joe Bonacorso, shout out. I own a baseball, but there are tons of D1 athletes that I just could not do their lifestyle. No. The morning lifts, the constant practices in the middle of the day, the traveling, so you can't do any homework over the weekends, and then you leave Friday, so you miss classes, you have tutors. There's so much more that goes into it.
There's so much in their schedule that they shouldn't be held to the same amount of workload that me or you should.
It does make sense, because, I mean, I could never do it. I'm stressed at times here with that, and you find that at any school. You're going to be stressed in a certain academic situation that you're in, so if you put so much more on these athletes to perform, and you expect them to perform and bring in money, does it make sense to give them, I don't want to say, leeway, but I guess that's what it is.
Yeah,
that's really what it is, and it's such a touchy subject.
It really is.
Because it's immoral.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's immoral to give them any type of break, because
true.
It is college. It's still an
make
academic institution.
Yes, it does make sense.
It does, though. It does, because it's hard enough for, and you have to remember, like, they're our age. They're still 18 to 20-year-old people.
Exactly.
18 to 22.
You got to put yourself in their shoes. Anybody who's listening, probably college-age students is my guess. You have to put yourself in those shoes. And I mean, there's tons of athletes here, but the prime time market athletes, I mean, I don't know if any of those are listening. That'd be cool. You can weigh in. But how much harder is it then for them to succeed? How much harder is it them? I can't say that. How much harder is it for them to succeed? That's the question.
At the end of the day, if they get a little bit of help, that's fine, because that's not what that's not what they're there for.
What people will say, that's what tutors are there for. That's what everything's there for. But it's also the fact of time commitments.
Right.
If you're given a scenario, where you're expected to complete the same amount of work that we do, and then take away basically 3 days out of our schedule, almost, that's basically where we're at.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then if you need them to send them to tutors, then that's another time chunk that they have to they have to block themselves out for.
It's a very touchy subject. It can really go either way, to be honest. It's your personal opinion on it. I mean, the high logistics standard of it is no. The high logistics standard is, hey, these guys are athletes. They're here to get your degree. They're also here because they're here to play sports. That's why they're here.
They're the student
and
athletes.
They're going to get student before athlete. Other people are going to say what we just said. Does it make sense? Yeah, it does. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how individuals feel about it, and I guess that's really our take on it.
Right, and it will never be okay. It'll never be where you can say, we give these athletes a break.
Yeah.
But you have to assume...
Because then people get touchy about it, say, well, how's that fair? I'm going here, I'm doing the same as you.
Right.
So, we actually have a caller right here.
We have a caller.
So we'll give him a little airtime. What's going on? You listen to WZBC, Two Dudes Sports Show. What's up, man?
Hello?
Oh, here we go.
Hello? Yeah,
introduce yourself again, sorry.
I'm Nick. I'm calling in from down at Georgetown.
Nice.
So we've had, last season at Georgetown, we had a basketball player suspended because he didn't show up to a couple of his finals.
Okay.
In some schools, he's good. He's fine. They're just going to pass him. And that's what you guys are saying. Are you guys saying that's fine? Just they don't need to do the work?
No, I don't think that they don't need to do the work. I think that they can be expected, to take a few less courses.
Yeah.
If they're going to get help with the work, that's fine. As long as, if it's under the table kind of thing, I don't have a problem with it necessarily. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying you should go ahead and do that, but I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
The other problem that you run into, especially at Georgetown, I don't want to single out schools, but there's certain schools that are harder than others. That's why we have rankings. That's the problem, and you can't single out. It's not fair. It's not fair to a person going to Georgetown versus School A. I don't want to name schools. I don't want to get into that touchy subject. But a school like Georgetown or Boston College, Notre Dame, and then Ivy League schools, you're putting people at that standard. You run into problems with athletes trying to live up to this standard that they can't they can't really achieve because in some circumstances they wouldn't be able to get into the school if it wasn't for their athletics.
But then why should they get the same diploma that we get?
Exactly. That's the other part of the conversation. That's where I really do not have a stance on this point. It's the touchiest. Exactly. They're earning the same degree with less work, and
but
that's not fair.
At the end of the day, all right. Yes,
but they're
earning
also
the same,
exactly.
They're earning the
point.
same degree, but they're not using that degree to anything. If they were competing in the same job market as you, it would be different. But we're talking about cuts for athletes who are looking to go pro, who are most likely going to go pro.
But how many athletes at UNC did you say were involved?
1,500. Which, yeah, obviously not all of them are going pro.
Go pro.
Yeah.
No, of course
not at all. Exactly, that's the problem. Because it's not always the people that are going pro. It's the small percentage of the people that are going pro that run into the problem where they're actually going to take that next step.
And that's what we're trying to say. We're not condoning
it's
it for
all
1,500 of those athletes.
And
that's
the problem
why it's a big deal.
Yeah. And then from there, you have to single out who are the starters, who are the backups, who are the people that really deserve this, who are actually going pro. And then if you're offering it to one person, you have to offer it to everybody, and not everyone deserves it because not everyone's a star. Some people get in there and just sit on the bench in that last spot and rally their towel around. That's what people do. And they don't deserve the same thing that a starter would deserve because a star is putting in so much work to get that degree too. It's the same amount of work, but they're doing so much more to attain that diploma, and in some circumstances, the sports aspect, they're not really showing up.
I mean, just to go off that,
it's very tough.
They might, even if they are competing in the same job market as you, they seem like you. It's just you and that's getting touchy again. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're bringing in money to university. They're making a lot of the things.
And that's why they're going for free, and that's why I think they should get
exactly.
paid, but that's another debate.
That's the other part. I think if that's instilled, then you drop this entire subject. The problem is, I don't know if that's going to be passed. They are getting people say, oh, you should be paid to go here, or you should be paid for your memorabilia sales and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it's also
their education's their tuition. They're bringing in more than
exactly. They're bringing in more than their You can run to that, but then
like a whole nother.
That's
I
a
don't
whole.
think they should be getting paid in free grades. I don't think I've heard stories about like Miami football players who have sat in the front of a class for tests. Kid in the back walks up when he's done, hands him the test. Teacher just watches it happen. He fills out.
I'm not surprised.
No, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying they should have free grades across the board, and that's not what these kids at UNC were having. They had this one class or this one program that they were taking where they were getting this free grade.
Exactly.
So it comes down to they should just have a smaller requirement.
God, this is tough.
They can't be held.
Because you fluctuate on certain things.
Then why do they have a smaller requirement? Why, if I'm devoting a lot of my time to the campus ministry, if I'm planning trips and in a bunch of service organizations and devoting a lot of time to campus ministry, why do I still need to be doing all my work? Should I be able to?
No, because you're not devoting the same amount of time.
It's not
as they are to their athletics.
I mean, you could be, and you are a spiritual person, but
I think all
I don't do very much campus ministry. That was just something that.
That's just an example. No, we get the example though. No, I completely agree with you. It's if what you're putting your time into, and I know what you're saying. Yeah. If you put your time into one certain thing, just like they're putting their time into athletics, why don't you get the same benefits as them? And I completely agree with you with that. It's just you're also not bringing in the revenue.
Their schedules stink, but
yeah.
Also so crew is big down here.
Oh yeah, it's big up here too. And it's a club sport.
Kids are out on the water every morning at 5:30.
Sure.
They have terrible schedules, but nobody's saying they should be getting free classes.
No, they have terrible schedules.
But they're also not bringing in the revenue. That's the problem too.
Yeah.
Well, the main point here is the revenue and what's bringing in for the school. Because if you're a school that has fantastic, academics, but cannot provide on the athletic side, or I don't want to say fantastic, just say the average academics and the average sports program, and you're not bringing in the top name athletes or anything, but you're trying to bring your money through athletics. Is this where it applies certain things to kind of boost your athletics, kind of boost your revenue? Because nobody's going to want to tune into a subpar team unless you're alumni.
Oh, no. Trust me. No, our football team loses money for the school.
It makes sense.
We're not allowed to give the kids scholarships. school.
That's where it comes into play. If you want to build that type of program, is that what you're going to have to do for some of these kids?
So then how do you decide that? Is there a money cutoff?
No.
Like, this program needs to be bringing in X amount of dollars to let these kids get by easy? Or?
No, because we're not suggesting that it should be an accepted thing. I'm just suggesting that as the college sports fan, I'm perfectly okay to turn my nose to it. To let it happen without, behind our backs, like it's been happening for
but it
ages.
Should be institutionalized.
No, by no means should it be institutionalized. I just think it's okay to turn a blind eye. I think that if the NCAA wants to get on their high and mighty, then there's a million other schools that you could look into that you'd get the same results from. And I think that you'd have so many more players that weren't allowed to dress, that weren't allowed to get on the field because of grades, because of academic issues, and I just don't think that's good for college athletics.
That's different. That's a more fair argument. I mean, I don't know if I still totally agree with it, but I think that's a more fair
It's
argument.
one of those things where you look at the subject, like I look at one side and I say, yeah, I agree with it, and then you look at the other side and say, yeah, I sort of agree with it too. And it's like you pick and choose. It's like Democrat, Republican. It's like I don't agree with everything that one side says. I don't agree with everything the other side says. But some people are so far right and so far left. Some people are so stuck on one side.
I can't agree with the Republicans.
Absolutely.
It's just a tough thing. And we got about 9 minutes left. So
right,
we thank you for
Thank you
tuning
very
in. Though
much
that was a very it was very good. Your opinion on it was fantastic. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
I enjoy the show.
Thank you. All right, so there's our call-in topic. We got our one caller, and it's such an interesting subject that we can talk about left and right, and we can talk for hours. And you can talk 1 hour till you're blue in the face about one side, and then one person says one thing, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll jump to the other side for a little bit. And you want to dive into each side, and it's so tough to categorize because you had to have fair rights for each person. And it's just not.
And just
it's
if
just
we're
not going to go that way.
Move from this topic. Obviously, we got limited time left. So just to clarify,
sure.
I don't think that my opinion. I don't think your opinion. We're never saying institutionalize it.
No.
My thing has always been
what we're talking about is pure opinions based on kind of like under the table type. That's what he's talking about. The under the table type. I honestly do not have a stance. I just like talking about it. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do. To be honest, I don't fully know. So we got about 8 minutes. We'll talk about playoff baseball. You want to talk about NFL, or we'll forget NFL?
We can talk maybe about.
We can just
Thursday
name teams if you want. We can pull up the schedule and just go bang, 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 bang.
That works.
Okay,
perfect. So we'll do a little baseball.
Postseason baseball. If you guys haven't been tuning in, Royals, Giants, amazing. I think this could be one of the best series that we've seen in a long time. I really do.
Absolutely.
Royals coming in hot. Hadn't lost a game. They go into that first game, and the Giants just pound it to them.
Absolutely, and that's what we talked about. They hadn't experienced the loss yet. How are they going to come out for the loss?
And how did they?
Game 2,
boom,
7-2 victory.
Crush. And it's Madison Bumgarner threw a gem that first game.
Yep.
And then Ventura comes out last night, throws just as well. He didn't throw the pure Madison Bumgarner, whatever it was. It was almost a complete game. I don't know if it was close to it. He only pitched, I think, until the 5th, maybe 6th, Ventura. But he got the job done when he needed to. Didn't give up many runs. It was I think it was the first or second inning home run to Blanco that really kind of put the Royals in a little bit of a rut. But the Royals came out 2-2 for the rest of the game, and then they just absolutely broke it open towards the later half.
Yeah, it was that 7th inning, I believe? 6th inning. 6th inning.
Or
Bottom of the 6th.
Ventura
came out after 5, and Herrera came in the 6th. He ends up getting the win for his inning and 2/3 pitched. But 5 runs in the 6th. They just went off.
It's going to be an amazing series. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be interesting to see. 1-1 right now. How we go to San Francisco is going to be interesting. San Francisco's fan base, I mean, Royals too. Royals is such a small, specialized, not many people fan base. But when they show up, I mean, you see the waiting list was unbelievable for tickets.
Yeah.
The ticket demand was insane. It was in the thousands compared to the Giants, which they're like, we've seen this before. We'll be all right. We'll win it this year. Every 2 years, we decide, hey, let's play some baseball. So I think the Giants they're gonna do well themselves. They have a lot of high-powered stars that have been here before.
Absolutely.
And when it comes down to that Game 6, Game 7, which I think it'll go to a Game 7. When it comes down to that late playoff baseball, it's gonna be that experience that comes through, and that's where the Giants can get a win. But these Royals, man, we have to see how they play on the road. They've had no problem with it so far. Mm-hmm. Giants is a different territory. When you go to Giants Stadium, Giants, they don't lose many games there.
They do not.
They do not.
Absolutely. So that's what we got. Game 3 coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Guthrie on the mound versus Tim Hudson in his home in San Francisco.
That's beautiful.
We'll see how that plays out.
Absolutely.
And we're just going to jump quickly right into some NFL
There you
Thursday
go.
night games tonight.
Yeah, we'll be excited for that. Sorry, wrap it up. World Series right there. When's the next game? Tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yep.
We'll be back. We should be around Game 6 or Game 7 next week, I believe. When we're on, or maybe it'll be over. Whatever it is, we'll be happy to talk about it. Thursday Night Football. Go for it.
All right, go for it. So about half hour till game time. Yep. Chargers, Broncos on tonight. Phillip Rivers looking like an MVP candidate this year. Peyton Manning always looking like an MVP candidate. Got his big 509th touchdown pass.
Did you see that thing with where they kept the ball away from him too?
Yeah.
I was so upset that was planned.
I know.
It looked
at
planned.
least that
Everybody
it was planned by Peyton.
Yeah.
That Peyton had a hand in it.
If it was the wide receivers that planned it and Peyton had no idea, Peyton's reaction would have been 10 times funnier.
Yeah.
Peyton was like, running around. He's like, you guys got me, but he knew. He's like, I'm getting the ball. He doesn't know. But even Demaris, 5 minutes later, he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, we planned it. It was so funny. But it was humorous to see, and it was good for Peyton. Though he completely deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so Chargers, Broncos. I'll give you my spiel first. I think that Broncos still on the high from the whole 509 thing. Yeah. And I think they underestimate the Chargers. Chargers pick up a big divisional win.
Wow, I like that. It's going to be tough. It's tough to beat the Broncos at home.
Yeah.
When you have that altitude condition. Peyton Manning, just amazing in all ways, shape, and form still. He's been doing his thing. I picked the Chargers last week. I thought they were going to get a crucial win over the Chiefs, and they lost it, which killed me because I really thought the Chargers were going to get it. I have Phillip Rivers as my QB in fantasy. I disagree. I think the Broncos will keep rolling high. Chargers will come in. I think they're going to have a great game, though. I think Phillip Rivers could have a nice shootout game with Peyton Manning right here. But in the end, Broncos at home. You can't go against them.
Okay, special 9:30 a.m. start time. They're playing over in Britain. Lions, Falcons. Who you got?
First, I want to start off. If anybody hasn't seen the clip that the Falcons put up of did you see this?
I did see this.
The plane flying to Great Britain. They missed by a lot. It was the funniest graphic I've ever seen. They're like, here we go. We're going to fly from, I think it was Atlanta to D.C. And then they're like, and when we'll take the plane. And I think they landed in Spain, if I'm not mistaken. The middle of the Mediterranean Ocean. It was just, for something they were like, it was just, I don't know how you mess up that bad. It was so funny. Oh, man. Regardless, Lions, I don't think they're going to have Calvin Johnson again.
Yeah.
Falcons over in London. It's going to be one of those games where everybody shows up in London. They have no idea what's going on, and the teams are going to look like they have no idea what's going on. So I think the Falcons are going to get it. I don't think having Calvin Johnson out just kills you.
I'll agree with you there. Matty Ice takes it. Falcons.
There you go.
Vikings, Buccaneers.
This is a game that really can go either way. I'm going to go with Buccaneers at home.
I can concur with you there again.
There you
Buccaneers.
Go. All right, Bills, Jets.
Come on, Jets. No, Bills. Bills.
Oh man, poor
Jets.
I do.
Hot.
I think it's possible with Jets at home to get back on their winning ways. They have one win this entire year.
I wouldn't even call that a way.
It's not really winning ways, is it? Sorry, Tim. I know he's listening. A huge Jets fan over at Cabrini College. I think they get it this week. They had a fantastic game against the Patriots, and I think they're going to come out home. I think they get a win. It's going to kill the Bills, and I don't know. Kill Bill. That's funny. Anyway, I think the Jets take it. Bears, Patriots.
I have to go Patriots.
Yeah.
It's a scary competition. They got really big wide receivers.
Yep.
I think Revis shows up. He got a stern talking to. He showed up late to a practice, and Belichick held him out of it.
Big deal.
So I think he's going to come ready to play, and he's going to shut down either Alshon Jeffrey or Brandon Marshall.
I'll take the Patriots, too. Patriots at home. Very tough to beat.
Absolutely.
All right. Seahawks and Panthers. Seahawks on a 2-game losing streak. What do we got?
That's a type of situation Cam could take advantage of, Cam Newton, but I'm going to go with the Seahawks. They got to get their heads together.
Yep. Also Seahawks. I don't think Panthers. Luke Kuechly getting kicked out last game. Shame.
Yeah.
Seahawks will take it. Dolphins and Jaguars.
Jaguars got their big first win last week, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
I'm going to take the Jaguars. I think after they beat the Browns, which everybody's like, oh, the Browns so good, you can never count on the Browns. Sorry. It's just really tough. But I think the Jags stay on their winning ways. They are at home. Doesn't really matter, but they're at home. And Dolphins have been on a slide sometimes. They're never someone to count on, so I think Jaguars get it. Ravens and Bengals.
I'm going to go with Bengals. AJ Green's coming back in this week, and they're going to take it.
Ravens.
All right.
Texans, Titans.
I'll go Texans. You hear about the Titans starting Zach Mettenberger?
Oh, do you see his stash?
I
Beautiful.
did. Oh my god! But one of the most on and off college quarterbacks ever. How he ever landed a starting job in the NFL is beyond me.
And he is not going to get a win first game.
No, he's not. Yeah. No, he's not. Texans.
Did you? Oh, I thought you picked the Titans. Never mind. I picked Texans too. I was gonna okay. Rams and Chiefs. Rams on a high.
That's true, but as are the Chiefs. Big win over San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
All right. I'll also go with the Chiefs. They're at home. Big Kansas City, they're riding high right now. Eagles and Cardinals.
Eagles. Chip Kelly continuing with a great season.
The Eagles are not going down yet. Colts and Steelers.
I'm going to go with the Colts here. Andrew Luck's still in fine form. Steelers had a good game last week, but I got to go Colts.
I'm going to take Steelers at home. All right. Raiders and Browns.
Browns. I think that they
Raiders,
get back to it.
Raiders just having a rough year.
Yeah,
Browns
they really are.
Yeah, it's just they're not going to get on their winning ways like the Jets. Packers and Saints.
I'm going to give it to the Pack this one.
Okay. Yeah, continue if you had something.
No, they were.
There you go.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm also going to go with the, you know what? Yeah, Packers. Yeah, you can't. You can't. I bet against them too many times. Redskins and Cowboys.
Shout out to Andy Carney. I'm going to give it to the Cowboys here. Redskins just...
Cowboys at home, tough to beat. I watched the Giants go down last week. Just kills me. Cowboys. Gonna take it, and that's basically it. I think we ended 1 minute late. Shame. We were so close, but thank you for tuning in. Two Dudes Sports Show here. Yep, WZBC here in Newton 90.3 AM station. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Thanks to our caller for calling in. Great subject. I think we had a great show. We'll let you with our intro. Tune in next Thursday for our show again, and also check out our tailgate video on YouTube. It will be below the video. Obviously, that's going to be posted right here on YouTube. Two Dudes Sports Show on YouTube. Like us on Facebook. That's all we got to say. I'm TJ Hartnett.
I'm Quinn Kelly.
Thanks for tuning in. Two Dudes Sports Show.
Matt Ryan, 21 of 24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a dude.
It's better than this. Guys being dudes. Matt Ryan, that's a dude. Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award. Ultimate dudes. Raji on my left, Herzlich on my right. Two dudes. O-line you, bunch of dudes. Dudes to the right, dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.